What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage here, and today I am interviewing Alex Varela out of the Fort Worth, Dallas area in Texas. How you doing, Alex?
Doing well. Good morning.
Good. Well, thanks for making time for the Mortgage Coach community. You always bring a lot of value, and we're looking forward to it. So for those who haven't listened to an interview with Alex before, last year he was the #1 Latino loan officer in America. This year, #2, but still one of the most. I just had to throw that in there, right, Alex? But one of the most successful loan officers in America, and to me, more importantly, he just delivers great advice. He goes beyond delivering a transaction for families. He helps them build wealth with real estate. He helps people get into real estate. He helps families go from I'm renting to I'm owning by the advice and the value that he brings. So Alex, just tell us a little bit about your advice practice, because I know you've really committed to Mortgage Coach at a whole new level. Would you mind just sharing the experience, and then let's share an actual mortgage strategy that you've delivered recently?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the journey began with kind of like Dave Ramsey's, financial piece, where everybody is talking about, you get the Dave Ramsey leads from your realtors, and you had to start getting familiar with what they're talking about. So you start looking into that and find out, hey, got to clear up the debt, where you position yourself in your mortgage, what's your freedom point, what's your plan. And so from that, we started talking to families about their strategies, instead of it being a mortgage transaction, I started talking to them about, hey, how can we help you create wealth through real estate? Fast forward a few years, we have another organization, Hispanic Wealth Project, and I'm very passionate about that, and looking to become a trainer for them, where it's just basically talking to families about debt, investments, how the mortgage actually performs, what it could do for you in your future. And not many people are showing consumers how it all plays out. And that's what I really like about the software, about Mortgage Coach, is that it shows the entire story. And you can, make assumptions about what's best for the family until you run a Mortgage Coach and you're like, man, I was wrong. Actually, this is better for you. This is the best way to go. And I kind of did that to myself last night. I was messing with the numbers, and I was like, man, I think this is actually the best route for this client to go. And this is a real consumer that we'll take a look at. And I'll tell you a little background about her when we're ready for it. But what I've found through this is that the consumers are talking about this. They're telling their real estate partner, their realtor, hey, look at this thing that Alex sent me. Or when they come in, they're like, oh my gosh, I never knew how much interest you would pay over 30 years. Or when you break it down this way, this looks a lot better for me and my family. And we use it for debt consolidation, cash out refinances. I'm very big on, paying off your debt first. If you're going to sell a home and you have a ton of equity, first things first, pay off debt, then put it into the home. And so we use this tool to show clients how it all actually plays out, because when you're talking to them, it's kind of abstract, and they don't really get it until you show it to them.
I love it. And make note, everybody, when you think of the lead conversion playbook, what Alex just described is the strategy where he's having a hopes and dreams and goals conversation. And so he's not just delivering a mortgage transaction, he's helping a family achieve their hopes, dreams, and goals. Also, I interviewed Dave Ramsey several years ago. I'm going to put a link down below to that interview if anybody didn't check it out. So Alex, tell us about a specific family, and then pull up the total cost analysis. And, I want everybody who's listening to this to understand kind of how you had the conversation. You don't need to role play it, but I asked them this and that. Their opportunity or problem was this and this. And then this is how I delivered the total cost analysis. And this, pull it up whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. So get a call from a client, and she's a teacher, so we are automatically, we know it's relatively fixed income, right? So she's not going to double her income year over year. So we know that budget is a big concern of hers. She then, as I'm looking through the file, I'm like, a teacher with $200,000 cash. I'm like, okay, cool. What's this? She's like, well, it's part of my inheritance, and you know, I'm just trying to do this. Trying to do something smart. And to me, it's like she's looking for advice. She's like, hey, I'm looking for the best solution. I have a son. It's just me and my son. I have this cash. I paid off all my debt. What's my next step? I want to buy a house. I know enough to know that buying a home is smart, and I'm tired of renting. So I picked up that information, and I started to ask questions like, well, you know, hey, you know, first I encourage people and I tell her, hey, you're doing a great job, and things like that. And I think you're wise for, you know, paying off your debt and now looking into real estate. And then I asked, is anybody managing your money? Which is a pretty bold statement to ask somebody that you just met. But I've become more comfortable with that question because I now see myself as an advisor to people, and I'm a professional. So that's a normal question. That's something I should be asking, is who's taking care of your money? She said nobody, and now that created an opportunity to talk about that and create a referral for one of my referral partners to speak with her about managing her money. So she's got a lot going on. She's got a lot of great opportunities. So we tried to figure out if it was best for her to put 20% down or not put 20% down. She was like, I don't know, should I put the money into the home, or should I reinvest the money? Should I put a little bit down and then take the money and invest it per month, or not per month, but invest it into, you know, a brokerage account? So that's kind of where our conversation started. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and I'm going to run some analysis for you and see what we come up with to make sure that we're making the best decision possible for you and your family. So you got my screen now?
Yep, I see it, Alex.
Okay, perfect. So I put this together for her where it's got a bunch of information, so we'll try to break it down pretty quick. This one is a little bit unique because she could claim head of household. And so for those of you that aren't too familiar with, you know, tax exemptions, you can Google it and you can see that head of household has an exemption, you know, a deduction of up to $18,000, which is pretty significant. Whereas somebody that's filing single is $12,000. So I'm not a tax preparer. I'm not a CPA. I have no background in that, but I do have Google, and you can look up anything. You could be an expert on anything with modern technology. So that's one of the data inputs that we had to put in. So what we have over here is her rent, and this is if she rented her home, which she already made the decision to purchase. So we know that rent is obsolete for her. She is no longer going to rent a home, but I want to show her kind of what it looks like compared to owning a home with taxes and insurance included in her monthly payment and what that looks like. So you'll see that she has net payment. This is total payment, including her rent and her monthly insurance, the tax benefit she receives from claiming head of household. So it subtracts that, and then you get your negative payment or your net monthly payment. This savings right here of $589, this is just compared to all options. So this would be compared to the worst option here. It's a savings of $589 compared to a 5% down conventional loan. Now, her FICO score is a little bit lower, so PMI is a little bit higher, a lot higher on this. And so I think that's why it shakes out the way it does, is because when we look at something here, her 20% down option, and we come through, we see that net payment, it starts at $1,433 with taxes and insurance, but when you calculate tax benefit, when you calculate the principal amount paid, you know, you have your net monthly payment of $920. So not much more of an increase to go from renting a place to owning your own home, okay? Again, this is compared to the worst one, which is the 5% down. So what I try to do is I said, well, does it make sense for her to do this? Or does it make sense to put 3.5% down and take that, the difference of the down payment and invest it at a moderate return of, let's say, 3%. So if we can get a 3% return into a brokerage account, what does that do? And so you'll see that when I put that amount in, and we can go back and look at the inputs, her payment is higher, so it's less of a savings. And what I was hoping to see is that her freedom point right here would actually be lower than the 20% down. but it's not. So if you take the difference between 3.5% and 20%, invest it, and take that money and reinvest it into your mortgage, at what point would you have enough money to pay off your home? And it would be 20.33 years. However, if you do the 20% down and you take the difference in the savings of the payment between the 1433 and the 1696, you take that difference and pay it towards the principal balance, okay, you will have a freedom point of 18.08 years, okay? So in terms of paying off the home, you're going to pay off the home quicker with 20% down, reinvesting the difference. But I wasn't done there, because sometimes paying off your house isn't really what you're after. Sometimes you want to look at, well, I'm trying to create wealth through this transaction. So then I looked at the net worth long-term right here. And I thought I would see that this option right here, her net worth would be higher because she's investing the money. But at 3%, that's not true. At a 3% return, she would not have a higher net worth after 15 years. She would actually have a higher net worth doing a conventional 20% down loan, reinvesting that difference monthly payment into the mortgage. I was surprised by this. Now, if I go back and I mess with the inputs and she gets a better return than 3%, I would imagine that this number is going to be better, but I use 3% to be conservative. So when we look at this, and she should be coming in, she's probably coming in today or tomorrow, and we go through this, more than likely I'm going to encourage to just do 20% and reinvest some of the money into the principal, versus doing a 3.5% down FHA and investing her money.
So from my perspective, guys, this is obvious value. I mean, this is a borrower who's got a huge down payment. She's going to be able to pick her loan officer, but because Alex is going through the numbers, because Alex is providing unparalleled transparency, he is delivering value. I mean, this is just obvious value. Now, Alex, obviously everybody doesn't have a $200,000, down payment, or, hey, I've got all this money, how much should I put down? I mean, lots of families, they're just, barely have enough to have a down payment. But here's the deal. Everybody wants to be debt-free. Everybody wants to achieve their hopes and dreams and their goals. And I think hopefully the takeaway everybody's getting is that Alex is finding out hopes, dreams, goals, and then he's coming up with mortgage strategies, not just loan programs, to help the family do that. And that is how you optimize your opportunity as a local referral-based mortgage professional, is delivering tangible value like this. So one more thing, if anybody has a mortgage strategy that you'd like Alex to share, or you're looking for a mortgage strategy where you'd like me to interview a mortgage professional and, create a teachable experience like this, let me know. Alex, one more question before we wrap this up. How did you position the total cost with the family? Like, you ask them all these questions and you say, hey, I'm going to go through your options. Do you call it a total cost analysis? What do you say? And what is your, I don't want to say scripting, but what are your talking points so that the family is excited? Like, oh, I am going to go through and what do you call it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. So I tell them, they'll ask questions like, well, what's the difference between this loan program and this loan program? Even if it's like rate, hey, is it worth it to buy down the rate from, 5 to 4.750? And we look at these things and I say, actually, I'd rather not answer that over the phone. I actually have a very special software. It's called Mortgage Coach, and it can provide you what's called a total cost analysis. And it's a tool that will break down the difference between both options, but it's going to show you the big picture, and it's going to show you all of the numbers. And I leave it at that, and they get pretty excited about it. And they're like, oh wow, like that's really cool. And then when I send it to them, they're like, wow, I haven't seen something like this before. I haven't, nobody's presented this to me. They call a bank or they talk to another competitor and they get a loan estimate or something of that with a rate and terms of fees they don't understand. They don't know what they're for. And then we come up with this. And it looks great. It's a great presentation. It looks like I spent a lot of time on it. It's got all my contact information. It's got my, picture and everything that you could need, on there. And typically you see that they'll share it. with somebody else. And that's kind of what we want to do, is we want to get them to start talking about it with other people.
Yeah, and they can translate it into Spanish. So read it in the language that the family wants to. Super, super cool feature. So Alex,
Absolutely.
I also want to remind everybody, it's not only important for purchase loans to do this, but when you're doing your annual reviews, if you're going through and you're having a strategy conversation, you're having a hopes and dreams conversation, you're delivering a total cost analysis, you can uncover hidden opportunities, whether it's cash out refis, all kinds of loans that people didn't know that they would benefit from. Alex, anything else you want to show before we wrap up today's interview?
I just clicked the Spanish option here just so they can see it. Let's see. Sorry, that's not it. I thought I clicked the button. Maybe I didn't update.
Well, just click the menu in the top left-hand corner, that little menu in the top left-hand corner right there. Yeah, and then translate. Boom. So again,
there we go.
Family member can get it in the language they want. And let's face it, everybody speaks digital. So start delivering your mortgage options, your mortgage strategies digital. So they're native in whatever device they're looking for. And if the family wants it printed out, I know in our last interview, you mentioned, hey, some families want it printed out and they'll drive 30 minutes to get it. But let's face it, most families want a digital link. They want to see it.
Yeah.
They want full transparency. Any last words of wisdom for everybody before we wrap up today's interview?
Yeah. There was probably like last week I was at our regional meeting, and one of the guys in the meeting, young guy, 29 years old, doing very well. He'll probably do 50, 60 million this year out of Arizona. And he was just like, Dan, I think Mortgage Coach is a really cool tool. And he was just like, but it's just, man, it takes me a long time. I don't think I've had the proper training. And I just keep getting stuck. And I'm like, I used to feel the same way. I was like, but I can teach you Mortgage Coach in about 5 minutes, man. And he was like, there's no way you're going to put together a total cost analysis in 5 minutes. And I was like, I mean, I'm not trying to like challenge you or brag, but I'm just saying it becomes less complicated the more you use it. And so while we're in a meeting and our regional managers are talking up front, I grab his laptop and I put together a total cost analysis from, it took me about 3 or 4 minutes, and pull up the Prezzo, and he's just like, dude, come on. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm serious, man. Like, it's not that complicated. So he, has told me like, hey man, like I'm gonna start using it a little bit more. He was super appreciative of like, it doesn't take that long to learn. And so I would just encourage everybody, like, stick with it. If you have somebody that knows how to use it, borrow some of their time. I know that Mortgage Coach is always willing to help too. There's some trainings available there. So that's it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great tool, and you should use it, and not that complicated to learn.
I love that. Great story. And yeah, everybody, it does take 5 minutes or less. In fact, I did an interview with 5 top producers where each of them actually created a TCA in 5 minutes or less. I'll put a link to that down below. And we have live training every day of the week. Go online, check out our calendar. If you are an enterprise partner of ours where your company has a partnership, we have, success managers that will help get you trained. But it does not take more than 3 to 5 minutes to create one of these mortgage strategies, total cost analysis. Hope you got value from today's call. If you did, give us a like in YouTube, share this, on social, share it with your friends, have a branch managers meeting around this, and talk about go from quoting rates and fees to delivering a total cost analysis that helps people build wealth with real estate. Alex, I really appreciate you, brother. I look forward to the next interview, and have a great day.
You too.